Hello people, today we're here to try to give an answer to the question that often Rudolph asks me. So how would you cut a tree? Well, of course, there are many ways to cut a tree, but excluding using bare hands or a bulldozer, the simplest tool that comes to my mind to do so is an axe. Or so, if you want to be a tiny bit fancier. But they're not the easiest tool on earth to use, and you might need a tiny bit of time to cut a tree with them. What if you want to cut it instantaneously? Well, I'm sure that it's due to the bad influence that my brother had on my education when I was a kid, but the first tool that comes to my mind, no doubt, it's a lightsaber. Because with a lightsaber, you'd be able to cut a tree in no time, and you would also be so cool to get ice cream for free, most likely, as long as they're good, everything's good. But why we're talking about speed? We're talking about speed because nowadays, the faster you do stuff, the better it is, especially in the histology field. Histology is nothing else than the golden standard when we talk about cancer diagnosis. It is a process that allows the technician, that is called histopathologist, to have a look to the piece of tissue that has been taken from a suspected to be healed area and determine if the tissue is healthy or not. The drawback of this process is that it requires quite a large amount of time, especially between 1 hour and 10 days, which is a quite large amount of time if you're waiting for your diagnosis. So how can we actually shorten down this waiting time? Well, unless you're naturally 20 microns thick and shiny pink and blue, your tissue doesn't look like the ones beside me. In order to look like that, they've been through a process that is called staining. So dyes has been added to tissue to highlight its components in specific colors. But if we remove the dyes, well, of course, we're going to shorten down this process. It's going to be faster. But how can you be able to distinguish between two different components of your sample? It is true that the staining procedure is meant to highlight the components of the tissue, but it's also true that nonlinear optics, such as some frequency generation or cars, do the same job, but with no dyes. So using specific microscopes, far more expensive than a lightsaber or an ice cream, it is possible to get the same diagnosis, but faster. You can get fancy images, like for example, those ones, and you can find in red lipids and in green collagen, most likely the lipids that you gain due to too many ice creams. So if you want to learn more about this nonlinear technique, nonlinear microscopes that allows you to look as fancy as a Jedi, you might need to read a lot of bibliography that I'm going to leave here attached to this presentation. So thanks a lot for your attention and see you in the next episode, even though we have no lightsabers.